the Key to Games podcast here on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. I am Josh Spicer, and we have another cast lined up this week. We're going to be discussing the Game Awards after our viewing party we had on Thursday. And joining me, my co-host, the indie developer currently working on the game Samurai Pig, Joshua Reyes. How are you doing?
Doing fine. I'm actually kind of still. I didn't drink at all the night of the awards, but I still feel a little bit hungover. I'm almost recovered, but yeah, I'm doing okay. How you feeling, Josh?
I am doing all right. Been busy with judging and games and writing and all that, so it's been a whirlwind week, I
For
suppose.
sure, definitely.
And hello to everyone in chat. Hope everyone else has recovered from the Game Awards. I
Yeah,
think Chris may still be out of it after all the drinking.
yeah, I know. Yeah, welcome Emerson for sure.
But as I said, our topic is going to be kind of our overall thoughts on the Game Awards after watching, what was it, like 3.5 hours, I think it was, a little bit more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Felt like it was four. It felt like it was four, Josh. It was a long one. Yeah, definitely.
hmm And I believe either next week or the week after, we will have to do our topic on what our games of the year will be. Because I'm
That's
still
right.
putting together I've already changed my list. It's no longer a top 10. So I'm probably going to be covering at least 40 to 50 games. I mean, more than that for my list.
Right
Just
right
may
on.
add a little bit more work to the plate.
Cool. Right. So I didn't know if you wanted to do that like at the beginning of the year or at the very end, like right before.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of see what topics we have, if anything else kind of like meshes with the
Meshes with
holidays.
it. Right on.
So for the chat and for everyone watching this recorded, what did you think of the Game Awards? If you did happen to watch or any of the many, I'm sure many highlight reels that are available on YouTube. And while I wait for that, what are your thoughts on it, Josh?
Well, I mean, mixed. I mean, there was some cool stuff that happened in there. I mean, like lots of cringe, lots of memes. A lot of misrepresentation of like how games are made. Like I think there's like really a little bit of a lack of focus on like, the actual people involved of it, which me as a game developer is probably rubbing me more than others. Because they're literally giving out awards for how the games are created. So if they could, I think we said it a few times, like even say the title of that person that was
Mm-hmm.
receiving the award, what they've done, or maybe go into a description on why like this game won the most accessible. Like what accessibility options did they do, just to enlighten them, and enlighten people that are watching a little bit. There was some fun stuff that happened at the end with Miyazaki. I'm glad that it's interesting that the game with least narrative won the best narrative, right? I think that was really fun. Other than that, I mean, there's a ton to cover on it, and just an award show. I think they got a lot of work to do. But I think it's already been going 10 years now, so I think they should have found some better footing. Definitely a gala and definitely a show for sure.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was definitely like as you said, like the part that rubbed me the wrong way, like you, is that it didn't really seem to celebrate the people behind the games. And like you said, like having Miyazaki, hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly, on stage relevant, I think that was a really great moment, as well as the Armored Core reveal.
Yeah.
But
Hades 2.
yeah,
Hades 2. So if we want to go positive, it would be like Miyazaki, Hades 2. Um, there's some good positives in there. Anyway, go ahead, Josh.
yeah.
Sorry.
But as you said, like with some of the awards, it's kind of hard to tell why they won
Right.
those awards. And I've been trying to like quickly. I have the Game Awards page back up. I'm trying to
Good.
scan through it again because for the life of me, I cannot remember if Vampire Survivors actually got any like mention or any like reward, which is
They,
just
they did not get an award. No, they did not get any award. Literally one of the best indies.
yeah, like that to me is something is just not right there. And like I
Like
said,
on factors like the game alone, from like pricing factor to mechanics there's like so many things that game broke through and changed about indie,
mhm.
which none of the other ones did. I mean, what happened, I think, is we learned that people really like cats.
Well, I put a cat in my thumbnail, so
Yeah,
that
see,
should get it like an extra 50 views for sure.
oh yeah, excellent, excellent, definitely. But two cats, guaranteed 100 each cat.
Mhm.
It's
How many views does Al Pacino get? Like, what is Al Pacino on the cat scale?
Al Pacino, and then the combo of Al Pacino plus cat. I don't know, like we're uncharted territory right now, Josh.
But I think my thumbnail this week proves that you gotta be really careful any poses you make or anything that people photograph because people can use that against you. And I just am so eagerly to wait the day that I become famous and all my pictures will become fodder for
Right,
memes.
right. Excellent. That's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. I guess for to become a meme is fun.
Yeah, but again, like what makes it just very weird about best debut indie again is why is the game for best debut indie not up for best game of the year? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there was no correlation really between there's more correlation between, you could say, like if I sat down with the marketing chart, like marketing department chart,
hmm
I don't know, on a hype chart, it would probably match up more than the actual, like, who actually won, because nothing really correlated if you were going by actual criteria, right? Especially
hmm
for Vampire Survivors. Like that's like definitely the one that stands out the most.
hmm
And then if we wanted to go and talk about what was it? Ongoing community support or something. No mention of Warframe there in that one, which
hmm
is like one. It's like Final Fantasy and Warframe are two in my mind are like the best. Some of the best community support. You want to learn how to do it right, how to keep a game
hmm
alive, how to listen to your audience properly. Like that's some of the blueprints right there, like in the big space, right?
hmm
Not, So anyway, the correlation between the genre, the categories was very strange and didn't really make any sense. So only in the fact of money and marketing budgets for me.
hmm
And then not to I'm not sure where we're going, but like the first award that this is I think especially rubbed me the wrong way. I mean,
hmm
Kratos rules, love Kratos, but like starting the award, like to me that should be like almost toward the last, right? Like
hmm
starting with a best performance. Instead you should be starting with, I don't know, like actual game stuff. And like a performance is, yeah, that's a performance and it did help make the game, and the game wouldn't exactly be the same, but if you got another voice actor and you put it in there, the game would be the same. It might like not be as emotional, or so it would still be the same game, right? If we're talking about game wise here. And
hmm
so I think like the point about nominating a voice actor first, that was like the most prominent, like they started with that as a thing. So when people are
hmm
turning it on, that's the first thing they get. I felt that was a little off, instead of starting with, actual the way the game, sausage, the way it's made. Like, okay, the best QA team. You want to start boring? Start with the best QA team. Start with the best PR. You know what I mean? Start like that, and so people understand. Wait, you mean there's people that test the games, and they did things like that would be really cool. And then okay, people could counter say, okay, well, it's the main award show, and you can't include everything. It was like 4 hours. You had plenty of time to include everything.
hmm
So, I mean, I don't think there's any excuse for that, for not focusing more on the best one. The best example was accessibility,
hmm
and they brought up that person, but again, they didn't mention why it was accessible, what they did, what they changed, because that is like the time to educate people about games. This is the time. And it's like you could say, well, it's an award show, it's a time to celebrate, but this is the biggest event, right, that you're trying to make it
hmm
about game awards. So be as legitimate as you can about it. Anyway, that rant is over. So where were we at?
Yeah, and like you said, like with starting with narrative, like I feel like they did that again because it's the most, I guess, Hollywood
Hollywood.
award that you could do
Yeah,
for Game Awards. But
man.
again, we're game industry, wouldn't like a best gameplay, most
Yeah.
innovative gameplay,
Yep.
something
Yep.
that would represent the actual act of playing a game.
Yes. 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 Exactly. And like, and that is, and I'm not like denouncing voice actors or saying it's important, right?
Hmm.
But as far as like creation and in a game that is literally like toward the very end of production, it is always there, like amid the game while it's being produced. But like the finalization of a story and all that's very like fluid and being developed as
Hmm.
the game is made. And it's not completely integral as say the combat or the AI or the art of the game or the actual story, which is already written for this person that's performing it, right? So
Hmm. And I'm surprised there wasn't like any kind of award for like most original, most innovative game, something that
right,
more of like a, I guess the I guess like the dark horse or like that out of left field category. I mean, I think the other thing a lot of people can say about the year's awards is that it was super safe. Like I don't
very.
think there was really no surprise in terms of what games are winning.
Yeah, it was literally everything was called. If there was no, I mean, I don't think there was like any leaks about anything really. I wasn't paying attention to that, but I mean, you could tell every pick was safe. The categories, like the amount that they put in the categories, was so small to even make it seem like there's no way that any of these games could win compared to this one. Yeah, it was set up. It seemed very strategic, and even like the camera work that from the award and then who they would show after that, everything was set up.
And with some of these awards, I'm just like once again looking back through some of these things. So it's been like a whirlwind of watching that. Again, like some of these just like don't really, I think, like add up, or they don't really explain or give us like. I guess there's no real thought process as to why one of these games would have done better or what would have done differently. Like with Mario plus Rabbids, as an example, I got right to the strategy sim page. That I un- I understand the game being good, but again, like, and someone brought up this point I thought was really good on Twitter about how I guess amorphous these categories are.
Yeah, yeah,
That
nebulously amorphous
nebulous,
and vague, like unbelievably.
yeah, like with the RPG category, that you have a game like Live a Live, Live Alive, Live a Live,
Live,
whatever,
live, live.
and it's going up against Elden Ring. Just as you have a game like Sifu going up against a game like Stray,
Yeah,
and Sifu going up against a game like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and DNF.
like literally not even apples and oranges. Like I don't know, like like Twinkies and broccoli. Like
There's a new combination
it's
right
a new
there.
combination. Like completely different. There's nothing like whatever. I have no idea what the criteria is, and I've been mulling over this like for days, like thinking about especially the indie category, which is driving me bonkers.
Hmm.
With just all you got to do is put a cat, and I knew this. See, I knew that all I had to do was put a cat in my game years ago, but I was like, I am not going to do that. I'm instead going to use a pig with a sword instead. And well, see, I'm not at the award show, so we know now. Go with your gut instinct and put a cat in your game.
Hmm. And to that point about how nebulous the awards are, again, I think part of this problem is that there are so few awards.
Yeah,
And like we said last week when we were covering or going over our basic thoughts on the show or just on the awards nominations, that it doesn't really feel right that some of these games are being, paired together. And also, there are very few actual, video game awards for a video game award show. Like, where is Best Adventure Game?
Mhm.
And I know the adventure game fans weren't too happy that the only adventure game that got picked is the sequel to one of the most celebrated adventure games from 30
Right.
years ago, I think,
Years, yeah.
thereabout. And
Like the
again,
safest adventure game bet. Like they were like, oh, this is the committee was like, is this the only adventure game released? Okay,
mm,
let's just put it.
and again, like this year, I play stuff like the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. Whenever there's a new Watchet Eye game, that's always a good adventure game. And again, like the adventure, I think this is again part of the problem with the awards is that it doesn't really, I think, celebrate the people who are carrying the torch of these
Yeah,
genres.
yeah.
And
And
again,
then
yeah,
with it being so again, it's so nebulous. You're not talking about who's carrying the torch, right? And
mm-hmm,
then playing everything so safe.
mm-hmm. Like, where's best horror game? I mean, we know there have been horror games released this year with Signalis, Scorn, Resident Evil 8 DLC, Happy's Burger Farm. Again, like I think this again like that very weird. I guess like there's
Wow.
this weird contradiction between streamer culture, YouTuber culture, and game industry culture. That
Yeah.
you look at like if you look at horror or look at horror YouTube over the last few months, you know that everyone played Happy's Humble Burger Farm, Stay Out of the House, Signalis.
Choo choo train game.
I think that just came out yesterday. So
Did it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So by the rights of the Game Awards, it doesn't exist in 2022.
For next year, sorry.
hmm And again, like how many videos were and what about that ooh, what was it, the bluey the one that looks like the ink machine game Poppy's
Platoon.
Playtime. uh,
Oh,
yeah, it was something about with horror. Unless Splatoon is a horror game, but
it is a horror for sure, bro. For sure. Why am I playing this? Ah!
and again, like Poppy's Playtime, the Bendy and the Ink Machine. I think it did either get a sequel or Bendy and yeah, the sequel did come out. Bendy and the Dark Revival. And again, like we here we've made fun of these games and all that, but it still stands to reason that these are games as a part of the horror genre. They are
Yeah.
horror games. Like, why is there not a horror game category?
I
And
cannot believe that. I totally, that's an omission. I didn't even notice that. So, like, I've been thinking about it this whole time and no, it's one of my favorite genres too.
yeah,
And, like, it wasn't even mentioned. That's wild.
and I think I know the answer to that. It's a genre that died. It's a genre
Yeah.
that, in
It's
terms of the
gone.
AAA side,
Dead
once it
now.
leaves AAA, it goes out to pasture. We never hear about it ever
Yeah.
again.
This is true.
But again, it makes like, and we have the Resident Evil 4 remake probably coming out in 2023. So if that's up for award, what is that going to get? Action Adventure? Maybe we'll get Best Fighting Game because Leon Roundhouse kicks everyone.
Ah, yo, but I mean, and if you're talking about like, okay, well, it fell out of the ecoverse of, is that the word, ecoverse of AAA, so now it doesn't exist. Um, that's kind of like contradictory to what you're trying to do. So we're trying to like celebrate games and award them and like be like, these are games. So like by awarding all types of games, every type, mentioning horror, going through that, we raise all the boats and all the ships and the oceans get raised. Everyone gets raised together. We make awareness of like, hey, you should be playing some indie games. There may like you know what I mean? Like having as many game rooms as possible and as much awareness as possible is just better. And instead, it felt so truncated. So when we say safe, I felt like it felt truncated to a point where they were truncated and nebulous, where they were literally trying to like downplay the importance of like they were almost trying to make it seem like what's more important is the CEO of the company than like the actual devs in certain ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, no, this game worked because of the CEO. It wasn't because of this team of 10 that created this amazing independent AAA game. Um, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so I felt like there was, there's a lot of slant. You could talk about the Oscar stuff too, like, but again, it's all like there's just so many things that felt strange and odd about it. And again, they've had 10 years to work on this
Mm-hmm.
and try and get it right. And regardless, this is the biggest, and it should be the most legitimate award show there is. So all these faults are definitely deserving of being brought out.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like it just did not feel right that so many genres
Oh, so
never
wrong.
got. And again, like the genres that really got snubbed, if we think about it, are all mainstays of the indie space.
Yeah.
You know, adventure, visual novel, platformers, horror, puzzle games.
You telling me, yeah, no platformers, no puzzles? Like, wow, yeah,
Those
yeah. Now that we're really getting into the weeds of this, Josh, that is, yeah, these categories were terrible, literally a
hmm
joke.
and
Yeah,
I know what someone is going to say because I know some of the counterpoints or retorts someone's going to bring up. They're going to say, well, we can't delineate it too far down. We shouldn't have, a best platformer, best roguelike, best
yeah,
deck
you can,
builder, best deck building roguelike.
yeah, you can,
But yeah, what's stopping you? If you can have best esports team,
yeah,
best esports competition,
mm-hmm,
best esports coach,
mm-hmm,
what was the other one? Best content creator. Sure, you could do a best Metroidvania, or even
yep,
again, you could look at what are the best-selling games of each year and kind of have awards associated to it. Again,
right.
roguelikes are still big. Um, visual novels have grown huge over the years.
You can even do an award for like most like explosive genre of the year, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like all kind of awards. There is no way you can tell me in that 4 hour show they couldn't have fit a few moments in to cover each one of the best platformer. Just give it a minute or two. Best horror, a minute or two. Like there is no way. It was totally plausible for them to do that. You have plenty of time. They could have
Mm-hmm.
scheduled it, and so it all can fit in there.
So here's a question. I'm not sure who had the biggest pain in their heart after watching it? Was it Josh with the fighting game category or Seth with the strategy game
Yeah,
category? Although Marvel Snap did win, so that was
Marvel
good for
Snap won.
Seth.
So I think Seth was fine after that. Once it won, he was like, he was good. I had really no. I had no fights in the dog, and then the ones that I did want to win. Well, the only one that I did enjoy winning was Final Fantasy 14. That one's well deserved. That game is amazing. You should give it. That would be a good winner for multiplayer night, Josh. And we'll run you through some dungeons, do some raids. Be good.
We can do it all in what, like an hour? We can play through that
Uh,
game.
we can beat it in about an hour. We can beat it all. I'm sure we could. We'll just have the facts up and everything. But yeah, definitely, and then other than that, the most of the other categories, again, so many missing, egregiously missing, almost like seeming like a slap in the face of those genres. And then like doing the juxtaposition of what was the couple what did they announce? They awarded so they the couple that was working on
Ken. Oh, I
the
actually
only,
got an email from them, or I got an email
did
from
you
their press
really?
people.
Awesome.
What
Get
was
them on
it?
the show.
Yeah,
Or
let's see, what was it?
be
Here it's
great to talk.
Colossal Cave.
Yeah, Colossal Cave.
Ken and Roberta Williams.
That's right. And then they announced, I don't even know what it was like. They announced like Beth Death Match uh first person shooter or something. I don't even nothing that they were, and then of course no mention of their actual genre. There was no award for what they were so famous for.
Yeah, that just kind of felt very weird to me. That You have Ken and Roberta Williams, like two mainstays of the adventure genre. A
Yeah.
genre which, again, it technically never died. I
We
mean,
literally did a podcast a few months back about the renaissance of them.
hmm and
Oh,
that's
I
one of
mean,
the categories for the influential games that we have to
yeah,
get to if
that's
we can get
right.
people uh,
Oh my gosh.
and get lay a fire under everyone to get back onto that. But yeah, like again, Dave Gilbert,
Yeah.
um, what was it? Ooh, again, there's just so many indie developers who it never really stopped with the adventure games, so you couldn't have at least something for that. And here's another random thought that I have: why is Al Pacino at the Game Awards?
Yeah.
Could someone explain that one to me?
Anyone in chat? Anyone in chat? I didn't recognize him I didn't recognize him. I felt bad. I was like, wow, that's Al Pacino. I didn't I did, yeah, I don't know why he was there.
I don't know. I think the best part was when he soloed Millennia in Elden Ring. He just picked up the
Yes.
controller and he speed ran through the whole game in 10 minutes.
That was definitely really good. I learned a few strats that I didn't know about from that, and I felt kind of bad. I said I should have known those, but Al Pacino showed me some really good strats from Millennia.
hmm And it just feels like Henry Cavill just keeps getting snubbed. Like, we know he's a huge gamer. He paints Warhammer figurines. He does Geralt. He builds his own computer. Like, why
What's
couldn't he have been at the award show? I feel like he would be a really great presenter.
that one when yeah, the one when he built the PC, that thing had like a quadrillion views when he was building it live. Like there
hmm
was because it was during COVID. So
hmm If Henry's watching this or he wants to come on for a cast, please get in touch.
I'm on. Yeah, get in touch, please.
Because I know we'll talk about video games for a whole lot.
Definitely, and we know you've been wanting to talk about them, and we'll talk. We'd be glad to discuss them with you
hmm
fully.
And with like going back to like best narrative, like one of the things that I found a little bit weird, again, the Christopher's Judge speech was super long. I
Woo!
think that was the longest speech of the night.
The longest one, yeah. And I think everybody after that knew that they could not. They might have been told they're like, "Hey, you don't got time now to give a long speech. You gotta."
Yeah. But again, like I feel like they played all the developers faster than they did Christopher Judge, which
For
again,
sure.
for Game Awards, it doesn't really look good in my opinion.
No, no, not at all. You know, they started with that longest award, and then they did. I think they were and they played it. I don't know if they were playing him off with music or they actually started playing. I'm not sure what they were doing, but they played him off with music at the end, toward the very end, because it
hmm
was so long. But yeah, and they just and they just shooed all the other devs off. They basically just kicked them off the stage. Like, get out of here, accessibility dev. And then
hmm
Kratos, nope. You can talk all day.
hmm And with I think that award, that kind of like set the tone. And again, it just raises that question as to why I kind of felt like the awards that they were being picked, or the awards that were nominated, were picked primarily by the games that sold the most. Like the games came, and then they created the awards to kind of justify those games. If that makes any
Yes,
sense.
100%. And I got the exact same feeling. I mean, that is exactly what I felt. And I mean, and of course, like, and that's what led to the nebulouses of the categories, like, and then what was mentioned, right? And then, of
Mhm.
course, as we were saying, our theory about all the indie games, did they didn't meet the sales quota? But I guarantee you, like, Vampire Survivors did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think Vampire Survivors could have already made more money than some of the games that won awards this
Definitely,
year.
definitely. I bet you way more than Stray. Like,
hmm
I don't. Can we get that information? Can we find out sales of Stray versus? I they're gonna lie.
Let's see, Vampire Survivors. Well, I can tell you Vampire Survivors has more reviews than Stray.
Yeah, I mean that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
I've still yet to play Stray. I was gonna give it a try just to see how well the cat controlled, but just didn't call out enough to me yet. Even
Mm-hmm.
after awarding the award, you would think, okay, let me check it out. But nope.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised Stray is not on Games Pass. Like, you would think like a game like that would be in more places. Like the
They should have
only
they should have put them all on Game Pass, like everyone that won.
mm-hmm. Like the only like real like indie nom that we saw besides Vampire Survivors Vampire Survivors and maybe Neon White was I just had it. Immortality, the game from what was it? Not Gone Home. Her Story. Oh yeah, thank you, Melanius. I remember that. Oh yeah, they brought up that point. We forgot. You know when they were talking about this is the latest game from a AAA indie studio, and I believe that kind of I think my soul like kind of like left my body for a second when I heard that.
My soul left my body then, and then yeah, also the whole time, like that was the vibe. Like Malwinius is saying that the show felt very contrived, and that no one was really into the games at all. I did like there was literally the passion felt fake. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody that went up there and they were like, "Oh, this and that." None of it felt real, and it felt very contrived. Like I don't know if you felt that too, Josh, but it like
Mm-hmm.
all of it felt so not real. They're so real, if you would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm surprised I didn't hear more people talk about the whole AAA indie. We need to
Are we the only one going over?
we need to like keep that in the conversation. I think because it does represent again that issue of why is that the mentality they're trying to promote? That being indie means having a being former like Ubisoft developers with millions of dollars of angel investors and
Yeah,
funding, and
that
again,
is a massive difference, and that is not indie. You are no longer indie when you have that. When you're partnered with Ubisoft, who was
mhm,
it?
they're
Yeah,
former like Ubisoft developers. They're published by Sony.
you're not you're out of you're in places that and in most 99% of indie devs will never ever see or ever be, right? And then
Hmm.
you're saying, oh no, this is that's wild, and we definitely need to get deeper down in that discussion, and once and for all put the nail in the coffin what it is to actually what indie dev actually is, and that it is not.
Hmm. And again, like, when we look at the best debut indie, 4 out of the 5 are published. Like, you would think that the game that was made completely by an individual developer with no outside funding could have, earned a best debut indie.
Yeah, yeah,
And it, in a way, I think this also cheapens some of the previous awards to indie developers, like To
yeah.
Celeste, Disco Elysium, The Outer Wilds. That it kind of says that being indie is just, well, why can't you do a AAA game? Why can't you build a game with, AAA aesthetics or tell a AAA story? Because if you're not that, then you're not worthy of being an indie at that point.
Right, right. I mean, well put. I mean, just very disconcerting.
And again, it's this issue of why are these games being celebrated or considered over other ones? And part of this, again, to that nebulous process, that we don't know how the games are actually being judged. We have no idea. Again, you can say best action game, but what does that mean? Is it, about technical mastery? Is it about just watching pretty lights go? But I mean,
Sifu versus Stray. Like, what the?
Yeah.
What is that?
And again, if we're going by action or things going on screen, I mean, we could even stretch that to Vampire Survivors being an
Right?
action game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then again, like the failure of or be due to the fact that it was so nebulous and vague, like you couldn't actually like even like get those games in there. Like if you needed though, you need those categories in there for those things. And like
Mm-hmm.
there was times when they sped through some categories like real quick. And so like you could speed through some of those categories, boom, 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 and get through them. And then like because the omission of the categories, there was no way they could be put in there. And then there's only five.
Mm-hmm.
Please, how many games were released this year?
Again, I think I have played either close to or over 600 games this year.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
count, all the IGF submissions, all the student games, all the festivals. There's a turn-based festival going on right now that I think I'm going to cover for tomorrow night.
What?
So, again,
What?
this is not about lack of games.
Onboarding time, Josh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was trying to look to see if a game like Cult of the Lamb got, like, any mention whatsoever.
They got mentioned. They did get mentioned for I don't remember what. I think it was Best Dubois, but
It wasn't
yeah.
the best game direction, definitely not game of the year. Yeah, and again, it feels, I think we said this during the show, that it feels more like a celebration of money than it does a
Yeah.
celebration of games.
Yeah, and it was like a very cold, like passionless celebration of money.
I love, again, like, here's how we
Almost.
know that there's.
Go ahead.
I looked at it, I did find Call of Lamb, it's under Best Indie, which, why the categories for Best Debut Indie and Best Indie aren't, like, a little bit bigger, but again, the line says, in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, yet 4 of the 5 games have publishers.
Publishers.
So what
And,
was not traditional about that?
and just in case you thought not, having a publisher doesn't really help you, it does help you a lot. So like the difference between a game without a publisher being successful and a game with a publisher
Mm-hmm.
being successful is massive and a giant, huge chasm that cannot be underestimated. Like
Mm-hmm.
not even close. Like not even in the same realm.
Yep, so again, why were these games nominated? Yeah.
Money.
But even then, though, it's just like a very weird stretch as to, like, if these games, let's say for the fact, or let's be generous and say that judges pick the games, or, the judges got like a list of games and they pick the ones that they want to be nominated. Why these games? Like, if the judges only, again, this goes back to what we talk about when it comes to the understanding of game design. If all you think about when it comes to the video game industry is Call of Duty, Madden, and whatever is the most blowing up indie game, and that's it, how does that make you qualify to judge a game? And
Right.
you could, I know someone will argue, well, how the judges aren't a reviewer or a journalist at some major website. But again, that doesn't necessarily automatically qualify you. And the post I just wrote the other day about my issues with game journalism will probably illuminate more of my thoughts on that issue.
See, is that out already?
Yeah, but I posted it yesterday.
Okay, I need to read that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and game journalism, man.
Mm-hmm. And again, with like the rate they're going through some of these awards, one of the things that really bothered me, going back to the innovations in accessibility, is I remember last year when they did that award, they actually like went over, okay, this game did this game made use of this.
Right.
This, it just felt like, okay, here's accessibility, goodbye, get out,
Mhm,
kind of thing.
mhm. Yeah, real quick, and if you watch the video footage like real close, you could see some of the techniques that they were using. But like, I mean, like at the bare minimum, they could have put like in small font, like use color correction for text, or
Mm-hmm.
like they could like something at least, because like, I mean, it's so huge, and like accessibility is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the more people that are playing and the more people that are aware, and like, as sorry, it was as Mawini has said, like innovation, man, and like that's innovative, and like, so
Mm-hmm.
we need to focus more on it. What's innovative about it? Like, why is it innovative?
Yeah, like this would be something that would be really great to celebrate from the video game industry.
Big time, big time. And again, like keeping it so nebulous, and like just like, oh, accessibility, and like, nothing, what, and people don't even know what accessibility is, like, and that could be the time to let people know what accessibility is. Someone who's watching the award show could be like, wait, you have that colorblind option now in that game? Oh wow, cool, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna become a game developer and add that in all my games now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, like it just felt like Games for Impact is another one that it feels more like just like a pat on the back, just to say that it exists,
Right.
versus to celebrate
Yeah. Yeah.
why this game won. Like,
Yeah, it was like literally, here are the three games that included accessibility. I think this one had the most sales.
hmm and again, like with Games for Impact, why?
Can you
Why?
read? Can you read the who won Games with Impact?
As Dusk Falls, which
Okay.
did not play that one at all. I did play a little bit of Citizen Sleeper. I played some of I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. And they were interesting games, but again, it's that question of what did they do that was award worthy?
Right. Right. And it all it is like literally one line. It would be like what's the name of the game? Dusk.
As Dusk Falls.
As does falls winner, due to the fact that they innovated in this mechanic, and that's it. That's
hmm
literally all you have to do, right? And then like someone could be like, wait, what was that mechanic called, and look into it. But just like literally just a little bit more description, just letting people know, educating people. It is literally their right. If they're putting on an award show, it is literally like legitimately their right to educate their audience and not to mislead them. And nebulously, when we're here questioning, why is this category even? First of all, the category makes no sense, right? Who won makes no sense, and like in the only sense that makes that it does make is money, and like, and then again, that's not a celebration of games; it's a celebration of capitalism.
hmm And I still don't know why, like, we have, like Horizon Forbidden West was up for so many awards, and I don't know why that game was. Simply by the fact that it just
Just
disappeared.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Just by existence, it was there. It was another. It was another. God of War and Horizon were like the two that were always mentioned together, and it was
hmm
like they're here. And it was like you were saying, it was like their awareness, the committee's awareness of what games were released was so small, right? It was like
hmm
in their head, the only indie game that existed was the cat game. The only action game, or the only game that was released, was God of War and Horizon and
hmm
Elden Ring.
Yeah. And when we look at, say, some of these games, like, here's the question: did everyone forget that Dying Light 2 came out this year?
Right, right, right. I sure did.
Yeah, and I think so did all the judges for it as well.
Yeah, yeah,
We didn't have anything in terms of like immersive sims, but again, immersive sims is that's even more nebulous in terms of what is it,
yeah.
what isn't it. But no, nothing about like an upcoming game. Again, we got most exciting game, but those 4 games that were mentioned are all like triple A, super. There's no real surprise there. Like, why not have something about best new early access game or
Yeah.
best promising game. And again, you cannot tell me that there were not first person shooters released this year. Like, again, having a first person shooter in the same category as action, it hurts me.
It hurts me. I'm still recovering, Josh. Still recovering.
So with something like the fighting game, what are your thoughts on multiverses winning? Like, I don't know.
I have no thoughts that I wish to voice. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. And again it just shows like the lack, like the complete, like I literally feel like whoever the committee was, whoever's responsible, is so detached from the reality of game development and like just the reality of games in general. And the like we're not like how old is like 30 years, 35, 40 years now the video
Mhm.
game industry is. Like it's not, we're getting pretty deep into it now. And
Mhm.
to have a committee that felt so, again, I have no idea how the criteria or whatever, but the whole thing felt so uh choreographed and disjointed and nebulous at the same time. um and I guess to finalize it, I feel very disappointed that won the award.
Mm. Yeah, and again, it kind of speaks as to you know is it a popularity contest? Is it
Right.
a money contest?
What
Is
is
it a
it?
combination of the two?
What is it? Because like as since the award happened, I've been thinking, okay, well, is it sales? Is it reviews? Is it marketing? What is it? Because nothing really seems to line up between the categories, right? And it
Mhm.
seemed like to me this was literally like one of the worst ones, like category wise, selection wise. It was very nebulous. I am very happy. I mean, there's a few good. Luckily, there's some positive takeaways that hopefully we'll get into from it. One or two things, but the majority of it was very negative, and I think it's not a good way that an award show needs to be going. And again,
Mhm.
I'm going to sound like a broken record about this, but it is the main game award show, so they have a responsibility to be legitimate about the way that they do their, there needs to be some transparency. There needs to be some criteria that us as gamers understand. Uh, it almost seemed like the show was made like 10 years ago, like it was being marketed to an audience 10 years ago that is not aware of games at all, because as we
Mhm.
said many times before on this show, consumers are so smart, and I am sure that there's so many gamers that were watching and they were like, I don't understand, I don't
Mhm.
get it, why is this here, this makes no sense, I don't this is
Mhm.
a joke. And I am sure that that was the biggest takeaway. I'm sure that most people were not walking away with like, yeah, God of War 1, this is legitimate. And it's like god God of War 1 because of marketing and clout and IP.
Mhm.
I think that most people can see that.
Mhm. And I think like one of like the biggest shockers is no mention of Dwarf Fortress.
What's
Like
up with that?
and I'm going to make a prediction right now. It is not going to be remembered at all for next year for 2023's award. And that is just a colossal shame. Like Dwarf Fortress is its own game essentially. It's its own
Yep.
genre.
Own
And
genre.
from what I've been hearing, it has sold. It's probably made at least 5 million in the last week. Like
Really?
it is, and again, like that is a life changing money for Zach and Tarn. And
Wow.
for those of you who don't know, the only reason
Good
why they
on
decided to
them.
publish
Oh
it
my,
was because of health issues,
health issues.
and they needed that money. So I mean,
That is
that
amazing. That is great news. That's the best news I've heard. That's
and if
great.
that doesn't get a Game Awards mention or a nom or anything in passing, what does that say about what is supposed to be the premier event for video games?
The Spike TV days. Do you
Yeah,
remember the Spike TV days, Josh?
barely.
Barely, barely.
I remember the only things that come to my mind was I think Samuel L. Jackson hosted at one point,
Yes, Samuel L. Jackson hosted
and they
once.
had Anna Nicole Smith doing cosplay of various female characters. Those are the only
Yes.
two things I can remember from that time.
I would say that currently it is in better shape, but it needs a lot of work. A lot of work. I would say that the Spike TV days were worse, more raunchy, risque. Uh, I think now it's it's better, but it still needs so much work. And I was very disappointed. It was a slog. I was very disappointed on
Mm-hmm.
how they covered the whole game dev community, the whole game dev
Yep.
environment in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And I think going back to the whole, I guess, like Hollywood chasing
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
One of the things that I saw on Twitter from a developer was complaining about how Kotaku made a piece about how why aren't game developers dressing up more? Why don't they show up
Whoa!
in better clothing? And it's like,
Whoa!
what?
Whoa!
And again, like that is
If
again,
anything, we should be dressing down, man.
yeah.
We should be wearing our t-shirt and jeans and I
Mm-hmm,
mean, what? That's wild. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the push, I mean, you if you could not feel the push
mm-hmm,
or the desire to it was almost I mean, it's almost like they don't of course like there was no passion for the video games. It felt like there was no passion. It was like and they're trying so hard to follow the pomp and circumstance of like and the gala of like an Oscar or movie award show or follow the formula, right? When it's a completely different medium.
mm-hmm,
Okay? So it requires a different complete subset and different rules, right?
mm-hmm.
An Oscar award show, sure, what you're wearing and this and that, sure, I'll go all in for it. But we're talking about game design, right? Game
Yeah.
development. This is a completely different realm. Again, this is spinach and Twinkies. We are so far away in worlds, and trying to combine them tastes as yummy as a spinach Twinkie.
And the cynical part of me is just wondering that were people nominated or put up on stage, because they, looked the part or they
Right?
looked the most presentable.
Who was up there? Who went up there? I mean, I know Bowser went up there, but other than and Miyazaki,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, for some of the awards, it was like they looked the most presentable, or the only one that could maybe carry a sentence, and those were
Mm-hmm.
the only ones that they sent up there, right?
Yeah. And I'm surprised they didn't have any, like, recorded thank yous. Like, again, they
Right.
knew who won the awards way, way in advance. There's no big shocker when it came to that. So why couldn't they had, Platinum Games record something saying, thank you so much, or something from Ubisoft? And again, like, now that I think about it, it's getting even more riled up. That you have a game like Mario plus Rabbids that proved that you could do XCOM for everyone, and you don't, celebrate the team or the creative director who figured out how to make that work.
Yeah. Exactly.
And again,
That's
no
just
offense to Doug Bowser, but I want to hear from the person who actually
yes.
did that.
Yes, exactly. Like please come up and I want to know more about it, and like it doesn't have to be that deep, but those people deserve to be up there, and it's not because and it's like, oh well, you're not presentable or this. I could care less if they go up there and they're like, thank you, or this and that, but it would mean more. Go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say the woman from was it E3 or the Game Awards last year who worked with Shinji Mikami, who was like all like bubbly and sweet, and she kind of like became a meme, like someone like that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I lost what I went on. No worries.
And again, it's that kind of idea that you're celebrating, you're not celebrating the people who actually did this. And in a weird way, I wonder how apt this is going to be. It reminds me, you hear all those horror stories of people who don't get mentioned credits of video games. Yep. That's what the Game Awards feels like to me. It's at
100.
We celebrate, the managers and the publishers, as well as how much money gets made. But the people who made that, the people who actually put it all together, nope, we don't care about that.
Right. Yeah. It's egregious, man. And like just through and through. And again, I bring up the accessibility award because I felt like that. But again, that like I feel like they chose her because she was the only one that could string together a sentence and she looked presentable. But they didn't say what her title was, what she did.
What was so important about it?
What was so important about it? So much missing. And man, like, what are you putting on the award show for? What is
Money?
it for? Okay.
And you know what I mean? Yeah, don't forget, you could have gotten that PUBG vehicle skin if you spend over $12 on Grubhub specifically for Wendy's.
For Wendy's. But there was restrictions, and it's only certain menu items, maybe.
Yeah. And if anyone buys 10 copies of my book on the 29th of February, I'll give you a special reward for that, for any game you want. And yeah, Billness, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, to their comment, yeah, they stopped giving out Lifetime Achievement Awards. I mean, what the heck is that all about? Did we run out of game developers? Did we?
I think we did, Josh.
Hey, Pony.
Pony! Welcome.
Yeah, and it was just weird that there's just like no real celebration of the people behind the games.
Yeah, and it was so aggravating. Like so aggravating, you know what I mean? Like just from the start, how we're starting with the antithesis of how games are made. We're starting backwards. We're starting backwards with the longest speech ever from a voice actor. And like you could like look like the way you do, like for example, if you were going to like do I don't know, we're going to do a wrestling pay-per-view, you would start with like the least important matches and the most important match at the end, right? And that's how you would do it, right? And but you can do them like really quick and you can announce them, so you could, again, like I said before, PR, QA, community management, and eventually lead up toward the end, Game of the Year awards, right? And you do that, and there was so many, and it's just so backwards. They made it like, it was like most important and most important at the end. Most important, of course, was Kratos' voice, and most important again is Elden Ring as the best game of all time, right? And it's just the misrepresentation of it all was so egregious.
I'd still say like the best point was when we saw like Elden Ring 1, and they show the face of like some developers like looking unhappy that Elden Ring 1. Like, at least that
was good. That was when I was trying to write the positives, and that was on my list. Ubisoft's developers' faces during the awards. They were just like that. Thinking about all their long nights on spreadsheets developing those quest lines.
And I like how Miyazaki, like, he said, like, he just, like, doesn't read comments, he doesn't care about, people, like, trash talking or praising him, he just makes the game, and it's like, thank you, like, that's, like, the best thing. And again, I said, like, during the night, like, you do all realize we're gonna get, like, 10 more poison swamps in every new From Software game. There'll be poison swamps in Armored Core, just wait.
There will be. I know that his translator, he didn't want to say it, but because Miyazaki, Geoff asked, "What's next?" and I jested that our next game will be purely Blighttown and Valley of Defilement. You said, Josh,
Yeah.
and I think his translator was afraid to say it, and he just said, "Thank you very much."
And I'm just like trying to look at any more of these awards to see if they're causing my blood pressure to spike.
Every single one.
And again, like stuff like best esport, best content creator. Again,
content creator. Josh's big snub.
Yeah, exactly. I blame Chris. He didn't vote enough. He didn't click enough times on that hidden vote button for.
Oh, there's gonna be a Patches mech. Yes, Patches mech and armored souls. That's great. It's gonna kick me down into a cave.
Mm-hmm. Again, it feels. I think going back to the point about how it feels like lifeless to the Game Award. It's like there's no real explanation as to why people were nominated. No real speeches. So it just feels like we're checking off a list. Okay, what's big and hot in the game industry?
Mm-hmm.
Twitch streamers. Let's give an award to a Twitch streamer. What's hot now? Mobile games. Give an award to a mobile game. And again, we all knew Elden Ring was going to win. It made enough. Again, like when we look at games that make enough money to like kind of justify. And again, Elden Ring is a good game. Like it does deserve that reward.
It really deserves it. Yes.
But what about games like? Why were the other games listed? Like, why were they nominated? Why did some other games win? Like, what did they do that was so spectacular? And
seriously, you could have put Elden Ring and Vampire Survivors at best game of the year, like in the same list. I'm serious. Like, you could have.
Yeah. And I think to the point about how nebulous the categories are, it does raise that question of should we have separate awards for indie developers? Right. Should we have best indie action game, best AAA action game? And I see pros and cons of that. I think that kind of feels like a participation trophy, saying you are the best action game from the indie category. You are, the best written game, but only as an indie dev. Like I feel like we shouldn't go that far. But again, I think part of the problem is that we just need more awards,
more inclusiveness. It does kind of like I feel like it would kind of displace it and like even delegitimize it, right? Because you're going from like, okay, well here's AAA and now here's the indie version, right? So it would feel like a little bit less and a little delegitimized, but it would open it up more. You know what I mean? Just more categories.
Yeah.
So more categories and more instead of what they had 5, I don't know, put 10. I don't know, put 7. You know what I mean? A few more.
And again,
obligatory 3 indies in the category. So like you have or obligatory 3 AAA, 3 indie. There's multiple ways to solve them, right?
Yeah.
Multiple ways to solve it, Josh.
And again, if we have genres that are more indie specific but still legitimate, platformers, puzzle games, horror, adventure, like those are easy indie wins. Like we're not going to see a AAA adventure game. I know people are maybe happy or sad about it, but it's just not going to happen. And even with something like survival horror, we would have gotten stuff like Signalis. We will have gotten Scorn. And yes, we'll have like the weird ones. We'll have stuff like Poppy's Playtime and Happy's Humble Burger Farm. But again, one of the positives of this, and I think this is something that someone else mentioned, is that it would give people an idea of what other games are out there. Like, people were jumping about on Twitch, or I'm sorry, on Twitter, saying, how many people are now Googling Immortality? because it was
Right,
mentioned for best narrative,
right.
even if it didn't win.
That's what I'm talking about. The education about the ecosystem that they're missing out on, right? It's so egregious. Like they're
Mhm.
really again, like over and over. I'm just sounding like a broken record. They're truncating the whole game to like the whole game ecosystem because there's so much people. Just mention it, and people would
Mhm.
Google it, and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, what is Cavity Busters, bro?" It doesn't have to win. It's just mentioned in there, right?
Mhm.
And then people will Google it. And again, all boats raising all boats, man. And that's what
Mhm.
we're talking about.
Yep. And again, it wouldn't be that hard. You cannot tell me that not one judge knows other adventure games
Yeah.
or has seen platformers from the indie space. And like you said, it would have done a lot to elevate these games. Even if again, there's no way in heck that a indie RPG would be Elden Ring. Like that is not going to happen. I think we all understand that. But just getting that name in front of people, they said that this was, I think, the most watched game awards. So mention games that people haven't heard of. Mention
Right.
something
Right.
like a Cavity Busters or a. I am still annoyed that Labra Runa got completely snubbed last year.
What is the point of merely regurgitating the information that
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows already about the game environment, right? Like this again, the most watched game awards show. This is a time to enlighten people about what's out there, show people what's going on, and you have so much time, literally 4 hours, Josh, that we co-op survival
Mm-hmm.
uh, that you could have awards and give people opportunities to learn about it instead of regurgitating what already exists and everyone already knows.
Mm-hmm. And I guess as some positives, let's talk a little bit about
That was
the
positive.
game premieres because I think the
Yes,
game premieres were good.
that was a positive of it for sure.
While we the Armored Core one that's been hinted at for months. Like we were all kind of expecting that one to come, but I was genuinely surprised we were getting a new Remnant game.
Remnant,
Hades 2, I think, is a
Hades 2
shocker.
blew my mind. I could not believe that. And you mentioned, they don't usually do sequels, so it's very
Mm-hmm.
surprising that they're doing a sequel this time. They usually like to, venture off and just do something different. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very surprising for that one. Go ahead.
Space Marines 2, I think, was
Space Marines 2.
exciting. Were there any other ones that got you excited?
Really, Hades 2, man. Hades 2 and Remnant for me are really excited. I'm really to see because you were talking about how Remnant had, wasn't sure if it really did deserve a sequel or not. And I feel like this is one of those games, like they'll have enough money or they'll have enough experience with the team to like this will be the official Remnant, right? That I feel like it'll
Mm-hmm.
be the one that it could be. So I'm excited about that. And Hades 2 just more of a good thing, you know what I mean? And I actually was surprised about Armored it's Core, right? Not Souls.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised about that. I didn't think they would really pull the trigger on it. I just felt like they were gonna leave it dead. I know there was rumors and rumors, but I just felt like there would be, I don't know, like a remake or something else instead of that one.
Yep, and I'm hoping we get Armored Core really does well for From
Mm-hmm.
Software because it's another franchise that deserves that breakout
Definitely,
hit.
definitely another mech renaissance.
Still shocked we have not gotten that new Advance Wars game.
Very sad, saddening.
And with some of those big announcements, again, it's good that the show gets them. Well, I guess as the counterpoint of that, we had, of course, so many ads, and
Yes,
so many times
yes,
we heard about Grubhub.
yeah. As Pony was saying, it was a string of ads or string of ads with awards sprinkled in, accidental award show. Um, yeah, definitely. It was a massive time to get ads out there.
Mm-hmm.
I literally haven't heard of. I mean, Grubhub. That I can see that Grubhub truck, like in my brain. Like there was a truck like from PUBG. I can see it in my brain burned in. We saw it so many times.
And as another point that, again, that still annoys me about the show is, what does this mean for the games that got put into the cutoff for this year? Again, stuff like Midnight Suns, Dwarf Fortress. I'm sure that Choo Choo Charlie game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people are honestly going to remember that in about 11 months from now when it comes
Yeah,
time to do the 2023 awards?
totally forgotten about.
So I think with that, someone remind me about Humankind. Yeah, I'm surprised Humankind didn't got any mention at all. And again, like, strategy and sim seems to get like the most, I guess, like, flack, or they get like the most snubs when it comes to award shows. Because again, like, the strategy sim genre is such a very like hardcore genre that, and it's even been like snubbed, I think, with a lot of the idea of esports. That's not a genre you can really present to people. You know,
Yeah.
how exciting is it to watch a Street Fighter match versus how exciting is it to watch someone play Stellaris?
Yeah, it's not the same. Hard to present. Very hard to present. I you know, esports, man, that's its own thing. That's
Mhm.
its own thing. Apparently, with the awards getting their own awards now over platformers,
Mhm.
esports is so important that they don't get mentioned over platformers and horror games. Esports is mentioned over
Mhm. All right. I think we are just about out an hour and 15 in. Anything else you want to discuss, or should we begin to wrap things up for the Game Awards?
Let me see here. I think we basically covered everything. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Let me check my notes here and just see. Again, like I just felt it's egregious that key factors, and components of game dev were missing, key QA, PR. Um, and I'm just hoping next year, they threatened us that they're coming back next year, so I'm hoping next year that they fix some of the issues that they had, and they really take the time as it being watched the most watched award show
Mhm.
for games, that they really like do their due diligence next year and do better for the game development ecosystem, because it's very hard work. It's like one of the hardest things to do. It's magic, and it deserves respect. It deserves understanding, and it deserves for the people that love games and that people that are watching it to be properly educated and not to be
Mhm.
misrepresented about what is important in game development.
Mhm. And again, like, to your point about, like, not really caring about the aspect of game development. Again, it feels very much like we're trying to justify covering video games.
Right. Right.
That it's not really it I think, to what we were saying earlier, like, it feels so forced as an award show that it's not there to honor the games or honor the people behind the games. It's to honor, again, the publishers who spend
Publishers,
so much money,
CEOs, money.
celebrities who get to voice act in these games. And it just does it just rings a very hollow
Yep.
because of that.
Yep. Summed it up perfectly, Josh.
And again, this is why I've completely am restructuring my Game of the Year list going forward, which is great to do at the very end of the year to add on
Yes.
to all the other work I have to do. But
This is the
again,
busiest time of the year, man.
what's a holiday break? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I've heard of it. It's as nebulous as the Game Awards.
What is sleep?
What is sleep?
And yeah, like, where can the Game Awards go? Like, one other comment I want to kind of cut off before it gets mentioned, because I know someone else will mention this, is they're trying to copy the Emmys or the Oscars or any,
Yeah.
legitimate award show. But again, I raise that question: why? Why do we need to chase after Hollywood? We have proven, I think, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the game industry is kind of like on top. Like, I think it has made more money than
Yes.
movies and TV.
Yes.
Our esports are now bringing more people than March Madness and Super Bowl. I'm not sure the Super Bowl, but at least I know it beat March Madness one year.
Beat March Madness. It beats March Madness. Exactly. And like, so the days of like Roger Ebert, like our games art and our games legitimate and this and that, that's long gone and that's done. We know now that video game industry, the ecosystem is a juggernaut and it's massive and it's grew and grew and it's going to keep growing and growing. And that's because it's just an amazing medium. As we talk about it before, that's why we love it so much. That's why we study it so much. It's because it is one of the best forms of interactive medium entertainment. Just all the things, Josh, and like, so it needs to be honored, and we respected.
Well, I think we can all agree we need more Al Pacino.
Definitely more Arch Pacino. I think that would help because I don't think I couldn't beat Melania until Al Pacino showed me his speed run on the streets.
So when does Al Pacino show up in Samurai Pig? Is he a boss? Is he like, you need an Al Pacino DLC?
You need the Al Pacino DLC. Yes, right. I think I'll think he'll be the boss, and yeah, you have to buy the DLC or maybe a loot box pool. There'll be a pool.
I'm still sad in that Diablo Immortal didn't win Final Boss's gem. There you go. Perfect.
That's right.
I still would love for Diablo Immortal to have won Best Mobile. Again, I wanted that chaos energy.
Those chaos points, Josh. Yeah.
And Josh wanted me to put that kid who showed up at the end of Elden Ring on, but I figured that may be a little too much trouble.
I was so sad. I was like, when I saw the thumbnail and it wasn't on there, because I was like 10 plus chaos points, Josh.
I didn't want to go into that much trouble. But I can tell you that no one's going to show up randomly here as we wrap things up.
No.
Unless Seth decides to pop in and wants to play Marvel Snap with us.
Right, Seth pops up. Marvel Snap. I want to dedicate the show to Marvel Snap.
Yeah, so I think with that we will wrap things up for next week. I'm not sure what our topic will be. Maybe we'll do like one design topic, and then for the week after that, that would be the 31st. Well, that would be like the perfect time to do an end of the year wrap up. Then I suppose.
Yeah, let's do that then. Yeah, let's do that. We'll find one. So in the comments, if you have any ideas, something that's on your mind that you want us to discuss for next Saturday, let us know.
And we'll get back to the busy task of trying to wrangle game developers for a podcast.
Right. That is the funnest thing. If anybody has not tried doing it, I highly recommend it. I'll make we should make a game developer wrangling.
Figure out how to get everyone's schedules aligned on 5 different time zones.
It's only spreadsheets and time conversions.
Yes, that's always fun. But yeah, so we will be back next Saturday around 5 p.m. ET. Be sure to do all the liking, subscribing, commenting. There's my information up there in the corner.
And my information down below. Wishlist Samurai Pig, Rooster Rampage. Follow me on Twitter till it blows up. Buy Josh's books. Join the Discord. Help us come up with another idea for next week. If you have anything stirring around in your mind. Thanks everybody for stopping. Bilius, Mamelius, Pony, Star, Everyone, thank you for stopping in. Amanda, thank you. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone knows Henry Cavill or Al Pacino and could get them
Yes.
on for a future show, please
Please do.
mention
Please
our
do.
names to them, because I'm
Yeah.
sure they
Yes.
would be jumping for joy to get on. So, so with all that said, everyone, thanks again for coming on. Be sure to tune in for next week's show and come back for the discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Have a great weekend and see you next time.